Hi, this is Tony, and I want to spend a couple minutes talking to you about some of the changes that we've just made in version 1.3 of QromaScan. Over the past month and a half, we've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys on how you've been using the product. And in this release, we really wanted to focus on improving scanning workflow, getting better voice recognition, and increasing international support. I think you're really going to love these changes, so let me dive right in. Now, right off the bat, the biggest change that we made is that we've replaced every single scanning command with a touch alternative. Now, early in QromaScan's development, I was kind of fixated on the idea that once you placed your iPhone on the lightbox, we could do everything else completely hands-free using voice recognition. Well, I was wrong, and I don't mind admitting it. There were so many variations in people's voices and accents and other variables, and that proved to me that we needed to save voice recognition for what it does best, which is the date and the location and the people metadata, and then move all the other scanning tasks to a touch interface. So let me walk you through what some of these changes are. So here's our normal scan screen, and what we've done is we've actually created some touch zones that I'm going to go through. Now the first one in the top left-hand corner is the touch zone for turning on and off auto scan. So tap once and a green indicator light comes on to tell you that auto scan has been enabled. Whenever a photo is detected in the back of the light box, that long red indicator bar turns green, and after 1 second the photo will be captured automatically. Tap onto this zone again and auto scan will be disabled and the indicator will turn to red. Now over here in the control bar, the top right zone is for closing out the scanner. If you touch it, you'll get returned back to the gallery. In the bottom right-hand corner where the image thumbnails appear, there's a touch zone for pausing the camera. When you're scanning, we open the camera aperture, and it's fine to do so while you're running through your photos, but it can also drain your battery quickly. If you ever find yourself needing to futz around with your photos, just tap on this area and go into pause mode, and we will pause the camera control. And this will greatly reduce the power requirements. And when you're ready to go again, just tap it in the same spot and it will turn the camera back on. The middle area is what we call the listening bar. Tapping once in this area is the equivalent of saying the chroma command, and that puts QromaScan into listening mode. Use it when you're ready to tell us the date and the location of the photo. After you tap on it, you should hear a tone, and the indicator, which is the listening bar, will turn green, letting you know that it's listening. You can then tell us the date and then the location of the photo. Once you're done, the listening bar goes back from green to pink, and you're back into offline mode. You should then see the date and the location metadata appear in the metadata panels below. The large area in the middle is called the capture zone, and we use a slightly different touch interface here. After you slide a photo in and it gets recognized, you can double tap here to capture the cropped image. Occasionally you might see the image flicker on and off as it's being recognized. That's not a problem. You can still double tap to capture the photo in this situation because we remember the last recognized rectangle. In some rare cases, you may put a photo in that does not get recognized at all. If this happens, just try to reposition the photo against the back wall. If all else fails, you can tap and hold the capture zone for 1 second and we'll take a full screen image that can later be cropped using our photo editing tools. If you find yourself doing this a lot, get in touch with us through our support line. This should rarely happen, like very infrequently. Finally, you can use a swipe down gesture to activate the backscan feature. If you've just scanned the front of a photo and there's some writing on the back of it that you'd like to preserve, just turn the photo over, put it in the light box, and swipe down in this area. This would be the equivalent of a capture, but it also tells us that this photo that you just took is now going to be associated with the previous one, and it'll allow you to flip the photos back and forth in the gallery. Lastly, the people metadata panel also has a slightly different touch interface. If you tap just this area one time, you'll remove the last person you added in the panel, and you can keep doing this until the list is empty. Now this is really useful if you've just added 3 names and the 4th name is incorrect. You can just get rid of that one and start over. However, if you want to get rid of all the names all at once, just tap and hold this area for 1 second and all the names will disappear. Finally, down here at the bottom is where the date and the location metadata is stored, and if you just tap on that thing once, it will clear out. Now, we didn't get rid of every single voice-controlled scanning command. There are 3 frequently used commands that are still available. They're Chroma, Capture, and Backscan. If these worked for you in the past and you want to keep using them instead of the touch interface, you can do so. As a matter of fact, we've added a new feature that can make using these commands fun and, dare I say it, easy to use. It's called command aliasing, and I'm going to show you how to use it in just a second. There's an area in the settings panel where you can pick your preferred language. Tap on this middle section and you'll see a list of flags and languages. Pick a language and you'll be able to see all the commands that are available in that language. And if you tap right on it, the voice recognition engine will speak that command back to you, and this will give you a rough approximation of what it sounds like to the voice recognition engine, and that might help you in cases where you're using the command but it's not getting recognized. Now here's something new. If you slide this command over to the left, it reveals an edit button. And if you tap on that edit button, you'll be at the heart of this new command aliasing feature. This dialog box tells you the command that can be edited and how it's phonetically represented to the voice recognition engine. You can now edit this command with a new transliteration or replace it completely with another English language word. For example, if you can't get the word chroma to get recognized, you can replace it with something like fishing. Then from now on, whenever you're in scanning mode, you can just say fishing instead of chroma, and you'll go into online mode. If you're not a native English speaker, you can still use this editing function to increase voice recognition accuracy for commands. Just replace the default word with some other phonetic value, and it doesn't even have to be a real word. For example, I can type in something like fa la la, and it will most likely result in better voice recognition for non-English speakers than if you tried to just say it in English. So that's command aliasing. I think you guys are going to love it, especially if you've had problems with voice recognition in the past. And some of you are probably wondering if we could do that with people names. Well, wonder no more. People aliasing is kind of like command aliasing in that it helps you tag photos in cases where a person's name is not getting recognized correctly. So starting with QromaScan version 1.3, contact lists and text imports and JetCom files now all appear in a very similar list view. And here is a text file I imported into QromaScan from my email. If I tap onto this list, I can see the contents of the list, and sliding a name over reveals the option of either deleting it or editing it. Now this is a fictional list that I randomly generated on a computer, so I tried to pick the hardest sounding name on the list, Tilly Lewandowski. I Googled it and there weren't too many hits. Anyway, I can tap edit to alias Tilly's contact name with something that I think is easier to recognize, like Supergirl. I can hit save and then Tilly's name turns orange to let me know that I applied an alias to it. Now, whenever I'm in scan mode and I want to tag a photo that has Tilly on it, I can just say Supergirl and Tilly's full name shows up. Now, if you're going to use this feature, let me give you 2 quick tips. First, avoid using really short words, and number 2, don't use more than 2 words. In most cases, our voice recognition engine does a pretty good job of recognizing names in your contacts without the need for aliasing. Use this feature in cases where you really need it. Finally, I wanted to talk about the new language support in QromaScan 1.3. Now, we've added support for a bunch of new languages, and they appear in blue on this list. You can select a language through the language settings panel, and the available commands should show up right after the flag in your native language. Now, offline commands still use this process of phonetic transliteration, but because they're just single word commands, they're probably going to be easier to use than they were in the past. However, if you're still having trouble getting the default commands to be recognized, you can use that new command aliasing feature and you'll probably get better recognition. Now, when we shift into online recognition mode in these languages, we're actually shifting over to Nuance's native language recognition, and this should be very accurate for recognizing the dates and locations that you tell us without the need for phonetic transliteration. Finally, if you're a native Spanish speaker, we've added support for a native Spanish acoustic model in version 1.3, and I think that's going to really help get your commands recognized, and especially proper people names. So that's it as far as this rundown of new features for 1.3. I recommend heading over to the Getting Started page on Chroma's site so you can download a new 2-page printable quick start guide that takes into account these changes. And if you have any feedback for us, please go to our support site and open up a ticket, and we'd love to hear from you. So thank you for your time, and happy scanning.